We're Max and Ollie's Party Rentals. My name's Riley.
And I'm Jim.
Jim, you want to tell them a little bit about our company, what we do?
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. We're your go-to party rental company. We specialize in bounce houses, water slides, obstacle courses, tents, tables, and chairs. And we service everything from your backyard party to your church event, townships, fairs, festivals, any place where there's a gathering, you want to have a little bit of fun, you think of Max and Ollie's.
At the end of the day, what we do is bring people together and make backyard memories and all memories to last a lifetime. Jim, how do we get into this? And I've asked you that question a million times.
Yeah, no, it's an easy answer. So, we started. It's been a long time now. When we first got started, I was just hanging out. I was working in a job and taking a delivery, and I saw a company setting up a mobile zip line, and I sat there and just watched. I watched them from when they pulled up to when they finished. And then what really just made me smile is these college-aged girls. They climbed up to the top of the zip line, and they took a ride that they never did before. So, when they got to the bottom, they were just laughing and had the best time ever. And I was always looking for something to do, because I always had an entrepreneurial spirit inside, and I just wanted to go ahead and, I thought, what a fun way of capturing, just smiles and just bringing fun to people. So, a little bit of research later, and a drive out to New Hyde Park, Utah, and we were in business with a mobile zip line.
It's not a quick trip down the road either. We're outside of Philadelphia, so that's a long way to go pick up your first piece of equipment.
It was a fun journey. I mean, we picked up a truck, 2,000 miles out, 2,000 miles back. Left Wednesday, drove all night Wednesday, all day Thursday, got there Thursday night.
Crossed the country.
Grabbed a couple hours of sleep, picked up the equipment, had a little bit of a rundown from the manufacturer, and then we turned around and drove the 2,000 miles home.
Boogied on home.
Yeah, the best part about that ride coming back was you think you know everything and you think you know what you're doing. But the tongue weight on that zip line was the most awful thing ever. And so what we were trying to do is we were trying to sleep in the back of it, but it was the tongue weight was so heavy, and we had a diesel truck, so it was pulling, it was no problem. But the bounce, it literally would bounce you out of the seat in the back seat, and we suffered through that for years until we learned about airbags and
that helped, but they didn't fully negate that situation.
Yeah.
I'll jump in and say, because we took that thing everywhere, as far north as Long Island. We even went into Connecticut.
We went as far north. I mean, if it's, I think mileage wise, we went as far north as Syracuse. We were in Syracuse one time at a college in Syracuse. As far east as the on the tip of Long Island, we were in the Hamptons. Far west is Pittsburgh, and as far south is Richmond. So we made our rounds, and we took that thing everywhere.
Yeah, that bucking in the back seat is something I will never forget.
Yeah,
that was terrible. I was younger back then. I think I was 13 or 14 when this whole ordeal started. And you would be frustrated sitting in the back trying to get some sleep and not being able to because you're lifting up a foot off the ground and smacking your butt on the chair.
The airbags helped. I mean, it didn't solve the problem, but it certainly stiffened the back up a little bit and it absorbed a lot of the shock.
Yeah.
So
it helped, definitely. But after that, we got into the bungee jumps, into the mechanical bulls, really kind of built this arsenal of mechanical equipment. And then 2020 hit. We barely survived.
We did. So you're right. I mean, we went to the mechanical bull next, and then from the bull with the bungee trampoline, we got, I think, we might have had a dozen bounce houses.
If that, yeah, we only had a handful.
Yeah,
when we were getting started.
And just thinking we can maybe tap into that backyard party a little bit, or we could bring bounce houses because some of our clients were saying, hey, we like the zip line and we want to do bounces too. So we went ahead and I think our first bounce houses we bought off of Magic Jump. Some of them were used. I think that year we bought maybe 4 or 5.
And so that was the initial kind of window into kind of what we have behind us here, the arsenal of bounce houses. We no longer have the mechanical equipment because of 2020 when that happened and you weren't allowed to go out and party and congregate with communities, people, families. Sold off a lot of that equipment, pivoted, and now we're up to nearing 70 inflatables.
Yeah. So the interesting part about 2020 was the pandemic came through and we didn't know what to expect. So all of our big equipment just stayed there. It just sat, and we had those 6 bounce houses, and we started marketing the bounce houses. And I don't know how many parties we did that year. We did a bunch.
Well, we essentially fell in love with the backyard party scene specifically, sort of during that transition.
It was in November of 2020 when we sat down, and Jess and I looked at each other, and we started really getting to know some of the other bigger players in the industry.
Yep.
And having some really good conversations with them. People like Jana and Kobus. And they're 2 specific people that really helped us make the decision to say, hey, what do we want to do? Took the idea of, we just really like that backyard party, staying more local. And so that's where the 6 bounces turned into what's behind us now.
Plethora of them back there.
We got a bunch.
And now going into 2026, a couple years specifically in the inflatable side of the business. We really started off in that backyard scene, and now as we bring on bigger, more equipment, where do you think we're heading for 2026?
Well, it's interesting that you framed it that way, because we started in the events with all the big equipment, so we were
with the mechanical rides and such.
Yep. We were very comfortable in the event arena, where they have thousands and thousands of people there. And then 2020 pushed us into the backyard party, and we still did some. We didn't just immediately dissolve the mechanical equipment that we had.
Yep.
That took a couple years before we were able to fully make that transition. But so we have the background of the big events, and then we brought the backyard parties in. So then it was how do we do both, or how do we do all? Learning what our commercial clients wanted within the bounce world, and making sure that that's what we went and found. So that got us into those really long obstacle courses, the really big slides, specific things that they wanted to see to bring their events and really bring them along and have help the event side of our business bring the smiles.
Yep.
Just like our mechanical stuff did.
The other side of our business is doing tents as well. Bigger tents, more tables, more chairs, and really pushing that avenue as well, which we're super excited about for the 2026 season. Any specific goals come to mind for Max and Ollie specifically this year?
We do have specific goals, but to go back to your thought on the tents, tables, the chairs, what we've learned, one of the things that we learned over the course of the inception of Max and Ollie's, is we learned that it's just really important to know what lanes that you're in with the mechanical equipment, the bounce houses, and then moving into the tents and tables. And I think it's been like 4 years now since we started with tents, tables, and chairs. Making sure that we knew exactly who we are as a company and what lanes we want to be in, because in all businesses there's a million different lanes you can be in. We found it's really important to know what you want to be, who you want to be, and then if you decide to start growing into a new lane or a different lane, it's a slow merge, and it's just not I'm going to try and just do something completely different. The idea behind that is when people are looking to hire a company, as they're vetting that company, making sure that company is really good at what they're claiming they're good at. We always think about, you only have one shot to really to nail it in the event business. Like you get married on one day, you have a birthday party one day, community day one day. You don't get a redo.
Right.
So and the nightmares in our business is, when companies, when they can't perform, and we'll get a phone call on a Thursday and say, hey, our bounce house company, or they just called us and canceled on us. I've got 37 kids coming to my house tomorrow. Is there anything that you can do? And often we can really help, but there's times when we can't. We just don't have the inventory. And I guess the idea is just as you're hiring your company, and you're vetting that company thoroughly to make sure that they're going to provide that service that you're expecting, and you're not getting that phone call on a Thursday or a Friday afternoon or even a Saturday morning saying, hey, well, our guys aren't going to show up because something came up or something happened, or
Right.
for whatever reason.
And although that blame, if you will, falls on that company, it's a reflection within the community on you as the host to the people, which is to the point of only having one shot to throw it or to host your event. The last thing that you want is somebody else to affect your event in that way.
It's crazy the panic that's in the voice. And you get a mom, she's
Yep.
calling, and she's been planning this event for how long? I mean, we had one.
And that's just the backyard party scene too. It's game day for when we get into the bigger events like the community days, company picnics, things of that accord.
Yeah.
And talking, communicating with the coordinator there, you could tell it's game day. You got to be firing on all cylinders, know what's going on, because it can get sloppy really fast.
Yeah, your party starts at 2, and the the company that they hired didn't get there till 1:45. Now this stuff takes time to clean up, or they didn't get there at 2:15. And
Yep.
I mean, there's certain things that we really look at, and we focus on, and start times, making sure that we're there on time, that so the event gets started. But back to the panic, like you get these phone calls, and the moms, it's an absolute panic. She says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got all these kids coming. Is there any way that you can help us? One time we had a client call, and I guess they saw a really good deal on Facebook. It was somebody that was going to provide a water slide or something, and
for $100.
Yeah, I don't remember the price, but I do remember that the company they booked with didn't even exist.
Oh yeah.
So it was a complete and total scam.
Just a scam online.
Yeah. And this, unfortunately, not everybody on this planet is honest.
Right.
And they took their money, whatever it was, a couple $100, and then poof, they just vanished in thin air. So, you get this panic from the mom or from the parent, and they're calling saying, can you do anything for us? And sometimes, like I said before, we're able to help. Other times we just, there's nothing that we can do.
Yep.
So, I guess it's just going back to whoever you decide to hire, go on their Facebook feeds, see, are they legitimate? Look, and also look at their Google reviews, cause people talk, what's the community saying about, or their customers? What are they saying about that company? All of these things are really important to check out, because we only have one shot at making this a memorable event.
Yep.
So we want to make sure that we execute to the highest quality. Anyway, the point is making sure that you're vetting the company that you're hiring. And I don't even remember what question you asked. I get long-winded.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's an industry that a lot of people don't have much experience in. If you're a seasoned event coordinator, of course, you're going to have your go-to guy to hire. But if you've never done it before, it's easy to price shop around and get caught without being as knowledgeable about what's going on as you should be, because you simply don't know what questions to ask and what to look for.
Right.
It's as simple as that. Truth is, in our area, if somebody's going to bring a water slide to you for $100, that's a red flag. maybe you hit a home run, but it's probably a red flag.
We want to do whatever we can to help guide the customers so that they have the greatest and the best experience possible.
I think that's a great segue to sort of the last point here. What are we trying to do with sitting down, talking to the camera, talking to you? the viewer. And it's, at the end of the day, to help educate, maybe entertain in a way here or there, depending what we're talking about. But overall, try to provide value to anybody out there who's shopping around, who is new to the event space or seasoned expert in the event. Because we've been at it for 13 years now, we've seen a lot of different things. We like to try to share that information as best as possible. Do you have any thoughts on that point?
No, it's just I think you hit it. You know, just giving some value in the information. And you know, one of the things that you know our sales team does that's really that's awesome is they have so much experience in the business that they're able to go ahead and they're able to recommend, saying, you know, hey, we're hosting this kind of event. What do you think? And so, you know, whether it be you know one of us or Jess on the phones, via texting, whatever, you know, that experience and that value that comes through, you know how, and, you know, we always talk about things like, you know, how many kids are you expecting? How many people are you expecting? You know, flow of the party, you know, why we would suggest you using this versus this other, you know, dual lane slides versus single lane slides. Just all of these things are important. And I think that, you know, like you had said, 13 years in the business, we've kind of figure the do's and don'ts. And hey, if we can go ahead and we can sit here and we can provide some good information for our clients,
Yep.
or even for the industry, and say, you know what, it's something that I didn't consider or didn't think about. I think that's great, great insight for whoever.
So if you're across the country and you're curious and have any questions for us, definitely ask us. You know, we're happy to answer questions. We'd love to kind of, for our next video or any videos down the line, answer any question that anybody has. And we service a 30-mile radius outside of Pottstown, Pennsylvania. Feel free to send us a message on Facebook. Find us at maxandollies.com. Our phone number's there. Feel free to give us a call, even if you just want help and you're not necessarily shopping. We're here to help as much as we possibly can.
Let's eat pizza.
Thanks for watching. We got pizza here.